So, episode 10, which is still to me kind of crazy to say because I cannot believe that we only have 3 more episodes left before this anime is over, and to me that right there is kind of sad. But in episode 10, this episode kind of gave like our class here a chance to shine because we saw them go up against some pretty, well, I won't say skillful villains, but they were definitely up against a threat because not only were they outnumbered for the most part, but some of them were at a complete disadvantage if things would not go in their favor. So that right there also played a big part in it. And so we see now that the episode itself, it starts off from last week where we have all the villains now appearing, and I will say that some of them could have been drawn like better in some scenes, but regardless, we see a lot of villains like mostly fodder because our 3 main ones were like the Raven guy with like his brain showing. We have the one who we have the one who like planning all this with all the gloves on his body, and then we have the Mist Man, who I still believe is the bartender. Well, it's obvious the bartender that we saw a few weeks ago because the opening did kind of ruin that. But regardless, these 3 are big baddies, and the rest are like mainly fodder. And we see now how Eraserhead, he was the only hero who could like really fight them because of course they could not put the kids in danger. And right now we all know that 13's quirk is way too OP, so 13 might end up killing someone if he or she would have went like down there to fight. But we see now how Izuku, he was saying how Eraserhead, fighting style, that right there is not meant for like frontal battles because normally what he does, he erases a villain's quirk and then captures them without pretty much any resistance. Like that right there is his fighting style, and so him going down there, to Izuku, that right there seemed like suicide. But then we have, Eraserhead saying how you cannot be like, a one-trick pony, and so we see now that when he went down there and was like fighting all these villains, he was definitely holding his own. And so we see now that apparently that these villains, they are definitely smart because we see now how they had like their own different fractions. Like they had this shooting brigade. And we see now that Eraserhead, he erased every single one of their quirks, then wrapped them up and made them like hit each other. And we did learn that apparently that quirks that allow you to like morph your body, apparently he can erase those. But at the same time, they were definitely getting outclassed when it came to like to close combat. So that right there is also gave him another like upper hand. And so to me, Eraserhead, very impressive. Even though the villains were like fodder, there were still a ton of them, and we see him like holding his own. So to me, I am definitely impressed by him, and so for that, I feel like he definitely deserves some praise. But we see now that the most troublesome villain was the Mist one, and we see now that when these kids were like trying to leave, he actually appeared before them. And so because of that, so right now he was like definitely worried, but at least 13 was there, and we all know how strong his quirk is. So even though they had this Mist villain, if 13 were to fight, I'm pretty sure that right there would be a very easy battle for him at least. And so now we see that the Mist villain, apparently his master plan, well, after revealing that they knew that All Might should have been here, it wasn't. We see now that the next thing that they were going to do was like torture these kids. And so we see now how we have Katsuki and the guy who can like harden his hands. We see both of them charging in, and we see them now attacking like this Mist villain. But of course they did no damage, and we see now how this Mist villain, we see him like making this spear of mist, but at the same time he also like warped some of the kids into like different areas. And so pretty much Izuku, he was like sent to the shipwreckage area, and we see now how some kind of like shark villain was like coming at him. And so we see now that Izuku, he was not the only one who went to the area, because we have Tsu or Tsu, the frog girl, and we also have Mineta as well. And now Mineta's character, I'm definitely confused about, because because at the same time, he definitely does not seem like some teenager. So I do wonder, is this guy some kind of like super genius? Because to me, being that small, and especially like with his costume, giving him the appearance of him like wearing a giant diaper, I definitely don't believe, this guy is a high schooler, but at the same time, like throughout the episode, he was like pretty much scared for the most part. And so we see now that Tsu, Mineta, and Izuku, they were now on this ship, and we see them now getting surrounded by all these, villains that had quirk powers that have related to water. And so right now they were like definitely outnumbered, and we see now that while they were talking, Tsu, she makes a very good point saying how, that all the villains, they are making like these brilliant moves by first blocking out any interference, because we do learn how they do have these sensors that should have been off. And we see now how all the villains, did come together for this one objective when it came to like killing All Might. And so right now she was saying that if they're doing all this, then they must have a guaranteed way to kill him. And so when Izuku heard that, he was like thinking to himself, and we see him now getting serious, because he was saying how if they have a way to like kill All Might, then we must, fight and win to like stop them from doing that at all costs. And speaking of All Might, we do see him at one point, and we see now how he was like trying to get in contact with 13 and Eraserhead, but of course there was no signal or no voicemail even, because someone is like blocking these waves so that no one can like interfere. And so we see now that because of that, sorry about that, guys. There was a phone call after they care up. But going back to the episode, we see All Might now, and we see him trying to get in touch with Eraserhead in 13, and of course he couldn't do that. And so right now he was saying how his body in his hero form, it will last for about 10 minutes, and we see that he was going to head there even though he was like coughing blood. But before he could leave, we see that the principal had came, and so this principal, he's like some kind of like weird bear, dog, mouse looking creature. To me, it's like very odd, and I do wonder why in the world, is he like that? Because he's like a combination of three things, and of course he's like human as well. So whatever this principle is, whatever kind of quirk he has, like to me, I do feel like it might have been like some kind of accident. I'm not really sure, but hopefully, at some point we can learn about him, because I am curious, the only reason why I'm curious about the principal, because I want to learn exactly, what he is, and like how in the world did he like come to be that. But regardless, now we see that the principal was like kind of like lecturing All Might, and pretty much he was like going on and on about different things about what All Might did, and about how like so apparently the principal knows that All Might definitely needs to be trained in Izuku, because he is the next one to get like a one for all. And so of course, because of that, that even though All Might like definitely kind of worried, about all these incidents that can go down, he is not the only hero that can actually respond to them. So sometimes he can chill out and let the others handle it, while he focuses on his like teaching duties here. But at the same time, we see that All Might has nothing but the utmost respect for the principal, because even though he was like rambling on and on, he like never told him to like shut up. But pretty much that right there is like all we saw of All Might this episode. And like at the same time, I was wondering, like when he would make his move, because obviously he definitely needs to go there, because I feel that All Might is the only one who can take down our main three baddies right now. Now don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that 13 and Eraserhead can't do it, but the opening did kind of show All Might fighting them. So I mean, that right there definitely feels like it will happen. But going back to our battlefield now, where we have our students scattered, we do see that, some of them were like already fighting. Like we have Mr. Half Hot and Half Cold. We see him now taking out, some villains easily because all he did was like freeze their body except for the head. And then we have Kazuki and the guy who can like harden his body. They were also like fighting together as well. And so then we have Tenya, the armed guy, and a couple of others. They were like fighting in Mizero, and then in like the fire building, we see the guy with the tail and like the fur. Now to me, his quirk still seems rather odd, but at the same time, but to me, I wouldn't mind seeing him fight because I do want to know what exactly is his quirk is, because right now I am definitely like curious about it. But regardless, they were all, holding their own for the most part. And we even see now how they all got this idea to like send Tenya, back to the school, because with his quirk, he's like really fast. And right now they cannot reach anyone otherwise. So to me, this right here was definitely like the most logical choice as well. And so we see that even though they were all talking about this plan out loud, they weren't worried. But when the Miss Hero, like made their move, we see now how 13, he can actually like open, like the fingertip part of his suit, and that right there allows him to like use his quirk, because we see him like take it in the mist. But I do want to test how much he can absorb. And I also wonder just how much of like this mist can this hero produce, because if 13, can like take it all in, then that right there would definitely not be good for him. But going back to our heroes on the boat, we do learn about Tsu's quirk, and even though it was obvious, it's definitely still nice to learn. And so pretty much her quirk is called Frog, and we learn how she can do, anything a frog can do, where she can jump really high, she can stick to walls. We already know she can swim fast, and she can stick her tongue out about 20 meters as well. And we also learn how she can like spit her stomach out. To me, that right there did seem like kind of weird and also very, very nasty. But apparently she can do that. And she can also secrete some kind of toxin that does stink a bit as well. And so right now we have Mineta, who was like hook up on the word secrete, and I'm not gonna lie, I was like dying laughing when I heard that. And so we also learn about Mineta's quirk as well, where he can like pull these balls that we see like on his head, and apparently they can like stick to anything. And we see now that depending on how we feel, they can stick for like a very long period of time. And not a long period of time, but I believe he said that at the most they can stick on, somebody or something was like for a day. But apparently if he pulls out too many, he will start to bleed. So that right there, did seem kind of weird. But at the same time, we have the other two who was like so quiet, but we see how that right there like made him upset, and we see him now crying. And I don't know why, like not to be a dick, but I was dying laughing when this scene was like going on. And so like I said earlier, like throughout the entire episode, Mineta was like so scared that they were like gonna die, that we see him like lose his will to fight at one point. And we even see now how one of the villains had this quirk that allowed him to like that allowed him to control the water and make it into like body parts, because we see him make it into like this hand, and we have him like striking the boat, which had like cut it in half. And to me, that right there, kind of got me hyped, because I thought that right there was freaking awesome. And so we see now that the boat was sinking, and like any minute now they'll be in the water. So of course they had to act quickly. And even though Izuku was now scared, we see him getting ready to fight, and we see him now like picturing Kazuki, because that right there is who he wanted to act like. Because all these villains, they were like very cautious, because none of them like knew what their quirks were, because earlier on in the episode, if they knew what their quirks were, it's like the frog girl said, they probably would have like sent her to the fireplace instead of like the water area where she has an advantage at. So right now the villains, that they kind of messed up. up, and we see now that when Izuku had like jumped into the water, and we have him using like Delaware Smash, where he sacrificed his middle finger and his thumb, for a pluck, and that right there had made enough pressure where we have the water like making this vortex and swallowing all the villains in there. For some reason, people want to like call me today when I'm recording, but back to my review. Since I am almost over, when Izuku had made that vortex in the water, swallowing up all those villains, I was definitely impressed because even though he only used two fingers, it had did so freaking much. And we see now how Mineta, he definitely did not want to be looked down upon, even though he was so scared, that we see him like throwing in all these balls in the water. And we see now that the villains, they were like touching them, or either they were like getting stuck into their bodies. And we see that when they like try to get them off, that right there made it a lot worse. And we see that eventually that we have them all being stuck together now, like in a center, and that right there is where we have the water imploding. And so all you see is Tsu, carrying Izuku by her tongue once again, and of course she was like still holding on, to Mineta. And so right now, these three, I gotta say, they definitely did work. Even Mineta, definitely, helped out because he stopped them from like getting away. So to me, that right there was like definitely helpful. So right now, I gotta say that this class, they are definitely strong. And of course, they will all continue to like get stronger. But I do wonder, what will happen next week, because I'm pretty sure that I saw Half Hot and Half Cold fighting like the Raven Brain guy, and I'm pretty sure that he was also going against the Glove Villain as well. So that right there should be insane. So right now I am definitely looking forward to like episode 11. But of course, let me know what you guys thought. Don't forget to like and subscribe, because it helps me out. And as always, you guys take it easy, and I will see you all next time. Oh, and also, I think I forgot to rate the episode, but in my opinion, this right here was like pretty freaking good, and to me, that right there is like a 7 or 8.